Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here. And in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Monday, April the 18th. We have a 3-game slate on Monday. We got Game 2 of the Raptors and Sixers series, Game 2 of the Jazz and Mavericks, and then Game 2 of the Nuggets and Warriors. So we're going to talk through each one of these games, go game by game. This is a little bit of a different slate than what we've had because we do have some injury news to talk about. Definitely on the Toronto side, that'll be a big talking point for today. Toronto going to be without a couple of key pieces. Luka seems like he's not going to play, so we'll talk about that, how that impacts Dallas once again. But yeah, guys, should be an interesting slate. Again, we're going to go game by game, hit on all three of these games, kind of talk through what stands out to me, taking a first look at this slate on Sunday afternoon. And as we do go through each game, we will build out an early core. We'll talk about 5 players that I like at first look on both DraftKings and on Yahoo. Now, as always, before we get started, hit that like button down below, guys. Appreciate all the likes as always. If you're new to the channel and you have not yet, click that subscribe button as well. I do upload these NBA videos daily, and my plan throughout the postseason, throughout the playoffs, is to upload every single day. I've been doing that so far, and I want to keep it going. So if you're enjoying these videos, make sure hit that subscribe button. And also, if you're new to the channel, check out the sponsor of the video, Prize Picks. So Prize Picks is a player prop based DFS site. It is very simple. You're just picking the over or the under on players' projections. You have to make at least 2 picks, but you can make up to 5 picks. You can win up to 10x your money on Prize Picks. It's a very simple site to use. You find some picks you like, make your selections, you pick over or under, and then you can choose the payout structure, how you want it to be paid out. You can do flex play or power play. Power play is basically like a parlay. You have to get every pick right, but if you do, obviously you get a higher payout. You can take a look at their board for Monday's games. At the time I'm making this video on Sunday afternoon, there is nothing posted yet for Monday. They still have stuff up for Sunday's games, but I'm sure later Sunday night, maybe early Monday morning, they'll have some props posted, and you can see what stands out to you. As always, I will make my video for Prize Picks for Monday. I'm not sure when I'm going to upload that. I was going to try and do it on Sunday night, but I don't know if there's going to be props up Sunday night, so we'll just kind of have to wait and see. If the Prize Picks video doesn't go up Sunday night, it'll definitely be up sometime early Monday afternoon. So be sure to check that out. If you already play on Prize Picks, I will share a couple of my favorite plays that I like for Prize Picks today. But let's go ahead and talk through this 3-game slate for Monday. Start off with the Toronto and Sixers game, and like I said, Toronto going to be the talking point of this slate because they're going to be without some key pieces. Scotty Barnes got injured in their last game, and it's already been ruled that he's going to be doubtful for today. So Scotty Barnes is not expected to play, got diagnosed with a sprained ankle. So Scotty Barnes doubtful, not expected to play. Gary Trent also doubtful, not expected to play. He missed practice on, I think, Sunday due to an illness. It seems like this is actually kind of a serious thing. Obviously, in the playoffs, guys are going to try and fight through, injuries, illness, whatever it may be. But given that, Gary Trent's doubtful, I'm guessing this is a serious illness that's really been bugging him. So Gary Trent is not expected to play. Also, Thaddeus Young's not expected to play either. Thaddeus Young didn't play a ton of minutes in their game on Saturday. He only played 6 minutes, but he's going to be out of the rotation as well. He's not expected to play. So Toronto's going to be really shorthanded, man. We know they're a team that likes to run a tight rotation, so I don't know what they're going to, what kind of rotation they're going to run today. I'd assume they're going to run like an 8-man rotation, most likely. Siakam, Van Vliet, OG, Boucher, Achua, maybe Malachi Flynn, Kim Birch, and maybe Delano Benton gets minutes, maybe Armani Brooks gets minutes, but I really don't know what Toronto's going to do. What I do know is that we can expect very, very heavy minutes for Siakam, for Van Vliet, for OG. Nick Nurse likes to rely on those guys very heavily, and we saw him do that in their game Saturday. They got blown out Saturday. Siakam still played 40 minutes even in a blowout, and he got pulled with 3 or 4 minutes left. I mean, he was on pace to play huge minutes if the game stayed close. I think we're going to get over 40 minutes from Siakam. 9,200. I think that's a good price tag. I think he has the upside to pay off this price tag, especially with the increase in usage there is available right now without Gary Trent and without Scotty Barnes. So I'm very high on Siakam. Really like Fred Van Vliet today. Talked about Van Vliet in my Prize Picks video on Saturday. Took his overall on fantasy points, and he did barely go over. He was in massive foul trouble in that game. He fouled out in 36 minutes, but he was on pace to play huge minutes as well. He fouled out with 8 or 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter, so he was on pace to play 44, 45 minutes. I don't know if he would have played out the entire quarter, but I think Van Vliet's going to get over 40 minutes. It's 7,500. I mean, that's just way too cheap for Van Vliet. His role during the playoffs is going to be really good, and especially without Barnes and Trent, they're going to need Siakam, Van Vliet, OG to just do even more offensively. So very high on Fred VanVleet, like him a ton at his price tag. I think on Yahoo, he looks like a really good play over there. $29, like that's just way too cheap for VanVleet today. And then OG Anunoby, I mean, I liked him a lot last slate. He was kind of chalky. I think he'll be pretty popular once again. But 5,800 is just too cheap for OG, especially with Scotty Barnes and Gary Trent expected to be out. I mean, OG played 32 minutes last game, lost some minutes because of blowout. He probably would have played around 36 minutes had it been a close game. Today, he might play 38, 40 minutes. I think OG is pretty much back to full strength. He's been dealing with injuries throughout the season. But, they had a while to rest up before the playoffs. He played big minutes last game, or he would have played bigger minutes had it been a close game. I think Toronto keeps it close today. The Sixers played as perfect of a game as they could last game. I don't think it's going to be a 20-point blowout again. So I'm expecting these Raptors guys to play huge minutes. And I think OG at 5,800 looks like a great play as well. Really like him in the mid-range. Really like him on Yahoo at $22. I think all three of these guys are great plays. If you want to play them all three in the same lineup, honestly, I don't think it's an issue. I think they're all just going to play huge minutes. And all three of them, VanVleet, OG, Siakam, could all pay off their price tags. And then we start to talk about, some of the value. So I really don't know what the starting lineup is going to look like for Toronto. They're a team that kind of likes to play big, and in this series against the Sixers, they might want to go big here. So we might see Presta Achiuwa start. We might see Chris Boucher start. We might see Kim Birch start. Not exactly sure. They could go like VanVleet, OG, Siakam, Boucher, Achiuwa. Like they could play like really big. I mean, they've done that before. I think Boucher is going to see an increase in minutes regardless, especially just with how tight Toronto likes to run the rotation. We know Boucher is going to be a part of the rotation, and obviously now there's basically three guys out of the rotation. That's just going to allow for all these guys to get more minutes. I would expect Boucher plays low 20s minutes at the least, and if he winds up starting, then he might get around 30 minutes. We know Boucher is a really good point per minute player. I do worry about foul trouble with him. Like if he has to guard Embiid, that's very scary. But I think Toronto is going to do pretty much last game, they were just kind of, throwing everybody possible at Embiid. Like there was times when OG was guarding Embiid. There was times when Scotty Barnes was guarding Embiid. There were times when Siakam was guarding him. Like they're just going to kind of rotate guys around. I don't think there's going to be one player that's just locked on Embiid the whole game. When Boucher is guarding Embiid, he might get into some foul trouble. He did foul out in 15 minutes last game. But Boucher is such a good point per minute player, and now that there's so many minutes available with all these guys doubtful, I think Boucher is going to play a good amount, and he's really cheap. He definitely stands out as one of the better value plays today. I like him quite a bit on both sides. He's cheap on Yahoo at $16. I like him over there as well. And then, if Presta Achiuwa starts, I don't have an issue going to Presta Achiuwa. He played 29 minutes last game. Have to think he's going to play similar minutes today, if not more minutes than he played last game. So, yeah, definitely think Presta Achiuwa is viable. Malachi Flynn probably would only go there if he starts. Kim Birch, even if he does start, I'm not super high on just because he's a very low usage player. He's not a great point per minute player. But I definitely think Achiuwa is a good value. I think Boucher is a good value. Maybe like Banton, if he starts, could be viable. But that's probably it from Toronto. We're definitely going to have to pay attention to the starting lineup here. Without two starters, we'll have to see what Nick Nurse decides to do. But there's going to be a lot to like from Toronto. They're very shorthanded, and we know they're a team that really likes to run a tight rotation. So I expect just heavy minutes for a lot of these guys. So yeah, lots to like on the Raptors. Now on the other side with the Sixers, not as much I'm interested in here. I definitely think Embiid and Harden are both very solid options. Embiid had a mediocre game last game, played 37 minutes, played huge minutes, even in the blowout, had 47 DK points. It seems like during the playoffs, Embiid is going to play huge minutes. He was on pace to play about 40 minutes last game. Had it stayed close, he got pulled a little bit early. I think Embiid plays about 40 minutes today if it's a close game. Toronto's a team that they're a good defensive team. They do a really good job of stopping, the opposing team's best player. So I think Toronto's going to do whatever they can to slow down Embiid. Obviously we saw Tyrese Maxey had a huge game last game. So maybe these secondary guys, maybe these other guys are going to be able to step up in this series just because I think Embiid might have some trouble. Obviously Embiid is still in play, but I think I'd rather go to Jokic if I'm going to target one of those pay-up options. Then you have Harden at 9,300. I mean, Harden was really solid last game. Had 14 assists. He was, passing the ball a ton. His usage so far with the Sixers hasn't been as good. He hasn't taken as many shots on a nightly basis, but he's still been facilitating a ton, double-digit assists in 5 straight games. Been getting rebounds. Obviously, he's going to go to the free throw line plenty. He's going to play huge minutes. 9,300 is not that expensive for Harden. So, I think Harden is a fine option on this slate. And then, Tobias Harris and Tyrese Maxey, they both played great last game. Tobias Harris played 37 minutes, had 47 DraftKings points. Tyrese Maxey had a huge game, 48 DraftKings points in 38 minutes. I think these guys will play big minutes. Obviously, this Sixers offense is very concentrated on those 4 guys. Embiid, Harden, Harris, and Maxey. You don't get a ton of a ton of production from really anyone else on this team. The only issue is that Harris and Maxey have been so inconsistent when they've been playing with Embiid and Harden that I don't expect them to go for 50 fantasy points again. I'd be surprised if that happens, but they're going to play pretty big minutes. Their price tags are not that expensive, so I think Harris and Maxey are fine options. I don't think there's really anyone else, though, I'm considering on the Sixers. Danny Green started and played 22 minutes. He's a very low usage player, a guy that doesn't offer much upside. If he starts again, he's an okay value play, but not someone I'm super high on. I think I'd rather target like those Toronto guys for value. So that's really it. I think for the Sixers, you're looking at Embiid, you're looking at Harden, Harris and Maxey are fine options too, and that's probably it for me. So let's move on to the next game, Utah and Dallas. So looking at Utah, they're not a team that I didn't really ever get excited about. They're going to really tighten things up in the playoffs, and we saw them give pretty heavy minutes to Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. Donovan Mitchell had a good game last game against Dallas, played 42 minutes, had 52 Draftkings points. Don't love the matchup against Dallas. Dallas' defense is really good, but obviously that didn't slow down Donovan Mitchell last game. He still went for over 50 fantasy points. At 8,300, I think he's appropriately priced. I do kind of question the upside for Mitchell at this salary. Mitchell's one of these guys that I feel like it's really rare that he just goes out there and puts up a score that, if you don't have him, you're dead. It's really unlikely that Mitchell goes for, 60 fantasy points, but he's a fine option, 8,300. Rudy Gobert was kind of disappointing last game. Didn't score a ton of points. He grabbed a ton of rebounds. Only finished with 31 DK points, played 35 minutes. During the playoffs, I would think his minutes are going to be really good, 35, 36 minutes a night. 7,800, again, that feels like an appropriate price tag for Gobert, but he's definitely playable. Bojan was really good last game, 5,700. He's still pretty cheap. He played 40 minutes last game, so I think now that Bojan can handle playing huge minutes, obviously he was kind of dealing with injury towards the end of the regular season, but he's pretty much full strength now. Played huge minutes last game. I think he's going to do that once again here. He might be my favorite play on Utah if I had to go to anyone. 5,700 Bojan looks solid. Mike Conley as a mid-range point guard option, I think it's okay. He played 34 minutes last game. I think in the playoffs, we're going to see Mike Conley's minutes be a little bit more higher than they were during the regular season. During the regular season, he was playing 30, 32 minutes a night, even in close games. Now I think in the postseason, he's going to get 35, 36 minutes. So I don't mind Mike Conley at 5,600. I don't know if there's any core plays or standout options coming from Utah, but if you're playing multiple lineups, I would definitely sprinkle in some Mitchell, some Gobert, some Bojan, maybe some Conley. Don't think I'm getting to anyone else, though, on the Jazz. I know Royce O'Neal was kind of a popular value play last slate, and obviously Royce O'Neal's a guy that is going to get big minutes, but he's just a very low usage and unproductive player when he's on the floor. He's really out there for defense. Obviously, last game he played 31 minutes, and he scored literally 14 fantasy points, so it's just kind of a minutes play. If you want to go to O'Neal for value just because he's going to play big minutes, it's okay. But I don't think I'm super high on him personally. I think there's, I think these Raptors guys just give us more upside, and they probably play, similar minutes. So that's what I'm liking on Utah. Now on the other side with Dallas, we did get word that Luka is unlikely to play today, so it seems like Luka's not going to be ready yet for Monday's game. I mean, there'll be something to monitor. Obviously, in the playoffs, these guys are going to do whatever they can to play through injury, so we'll have to keep an eye on it. I don't think it's just a guarantee that Luka sits, but the report was that he's unlikely to play, and if Luka does not play, I mean, it's basically going to be the Brunson and Dinwiddie show once again, like it was last game. Brunson played huge minutes, 41 minutes. He took 24 shots, had 39 Draftkings points in those 41 minutes. The price tag didn't move. I think Brunson is once again a great play at 7,200 on DK. I think he's a great play on Yahoo as well at $26. Him and Dinwiddie were two guys I liked a ton last slate, and nothing's changed. As long as Luka's out again, I think both these guys are great plays. Dinwiddie played 36 minutes. He had kind of a mediocre shooting game, but he still scored 39 Draftkings points. The entire offense is going to run through these two guys. I mean, these are the only two guys that really dominate usage. Dorian Finney-Smith is a low-usage player. Reggie Bullock is a low-usage player. Dwight Powell is a low-usage player. Maxi Kleber is a low-usage player. There's just nobody on this team that's going to be in this rotation that demands the ball. It's just going to be Brunson and Dinwiddie out there running the show, taking all the shots, doing all the heavy lifting, playing huge minutes. They're both too cheap. I mean, Brunson should be closer to 8K. Dinwiddie should be closer to 8K. Still like both these guys a ton. Now, when it comes to the other Dallas guys, there's not much else I love on Dallas. Dorian Finney-Smith should play huge minutes. He played 44 minutes last game. The minutes alone make Dorian Finney-Smith a viable option, but he's another guy that just doesn't really offer much upside. I mean, he played 44 minutes and he shot the ball 7 times. So he's not gonna shoot the ball a ton. He's just kind of out there to shoot threes. He's out there for defense. When he has big games, it's usually because he racks up a lot of defensive stats. He'll get some rebounds. Maybe he gets hot from three. But with how low usage of a player he is, Dorian Finney-Smith, even with his high minutes, is not a guy that I really ever get excited to roster. Same could be said for Reggie Bullock. He's basically like the same type of player. He's going to get huge minutes. He played 44 minutes last game. He's out there for defensive purposes. He's out there to shoot threes. He's not a guy that's going to demand the ball much at all. But again, like these guys are going to play a ton, so that alone makes them viable options. Dwight Powell, I just don't really have much interest in this matchup against Gobert. I think he's really going to struggle. Was not great in game one. I don't see him having much success in this series, so I'm not super high on Dwight Powell. And then Maxi Kleber was kind of a chalky value last slate. He was really cheap. His price tag came up a little bit. He played 24 minutes off the bench. I think on a nightly basis, we're going to see Kleber play like low to mid 20s minutes. Again, like he's another value play that doesn't offer much upside, but he probably gets like 25, 26 minutes, and he's 3,800. So like he's an okay option on a 3-game slate. But that's all that I've got for Dallas. I definitely think the standout plays here are Brunson and Dinwiddie. And then if you want to go to DFS or Bullock because of the minutes for those guys, like I think that's fine as well. But let's move on to the last game of the night, the Nuggets and the Warriors. So looking at Denver, you got Nikola Jokic at 11K. I think Jokic is my favorite pay-up option once again. He was my favorite pay-up option last slate. Obviously, disappointing that Denver got blown out. Jokic didn't play, his full minutes. He got pulled early a little bit in that game. He didn't have the best game for his standards. He had 54 DK points in 35 minutes. He took 25 shots, though. The usage for Jokic is just going to be absurd. Like, if Denver wants to even have a chance in this series, it's going to have to be because Jokic is just dominating. So I think the Warriors are going to do whatever they can to stop Jokic. I don't love the matchup for Jokic, but he's just gonna do everything when he's on the floor. So I still like Jokic a lot at 11K. If you can fit him, I think he's my favorite pay-up option on the slate. And outside of Jokic, like Aaron Gordon, Will Barton, Monte Morris, I just don't want to go there. I mean, Aaron Gordon had a terrible game last game, played 26 minutes. He could bounce back today, and I wouldn't be surprised, but I really never get excited to roster Aaron Gordon, especially when Jokic is healthy. Same could be said for Will Barton. 5,500 for Will Barton. Like, he had a good game last game, so maybe he sees, like, increased ownership today. If he's going to be more popular, like, you do see this happen a lot in the playoffs just because it is the same matchup, day after day. When a guy comes off a big game, sometimes their ownership gets a little bit inflated. So, like, if people are going to play Will Barton because he had a big game last game, I mean, this is a guy that I'm just fine fading. He's just been so inconsistent playing with Jokic this year. He'll have a big game, then he'll be shit the next game. You just never know with Will Barton. But he's 5,500. He's not that expensive. Like, he's playable. Aaron Gordon's playable. Monte Morris is playable. But Jokic is the one guy that I really like from Denver, and no one else stands out as like a top option for me from this team. So let's move on to the other side with Golden State. Talk about the Warriors here. So worth noting that Steph Curry obviously played last game, but he did come off the bench and played limited minutes. He only played 22 minutes. Not exactly sure what Steph Curry's role is going to be for today. I don't know if he's going to come off the bench again. I don't know if he's going to start, if he's going to play huge minutes. Obviously, it's a risky option right now until we get any sort of update on Steph. If he's not starting, I assume he's limited again, so obviously he's not going to be viable. If Steph does wind up starting, then that makes me assume he's probably good to play full minutes. But with how well Jordan Poole has been playing, like, I don't know. I think they're going to ease Steph back a little bit, especially while they have kind of the upper hand in this series. Now, maybe if Denver starts to win some games, obviously they'll probably start pushing Steph more, but like, if Golden State wins this game on Monday night and goes up 2-0, like, they can really ease Steph back in. They don't have to rush him back by any means because Jordan Poole's been playing great. Jordan Poole had a great game on Saturday against Denver. 30 minutes, put up 36 DK points. He was scoring the ball a ton. Didn't do much else besides score the ball, but had 30 points in those 30 minutes. He was shooting the ball really efficiently. Like, I think Jordan Poole, if he starts again, I'm not that interested. I know he's got upside, but when Steph is healthy, now that Steph is back, at least that's just gonna take Poole out of play. I don't care if Poole starts again. I still think Steph being there is just enough to make Poole not in play for me. Obviously, Steph is going to depend on if he starts or not. If he's limited again, I have no interest in Steph. Clay at 7,400 at this price tag, I don't really like that much. He had a mediocre game on Saturday against Denver, 29 minutes, 26 DK points. We know Clay can always get hot, can put up a big game any night. I think now that Steph is back, though, like, that's just going to take usage away from Clay. Might not get as many shot attempts. He didn't take as many shots last game as he had the previous games when Steph was out. So not super high on Clay at 7,400. Draymond, though, I do still like quite a bit. I was pretty high on Draymond last slate. He was kind of chalky, but I thought he was a good play. I mean, his minutes during the playoffs should be really good. Obviously, he didn't play a ton last game, but they didn't need him to. I mean, it was a blowout. He barely played in the fourth quarter. He only played 29 minutes, had 39 DK points in those 29 minutes. Just a typical Draymond game: 12 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, 3 blocks in those 29 minutes. Like, we know Draymond, he's going to stuff the stat sheet when he's out there. He's going to provide fantasy points in every category. He can score, he can get rebounds, he can get assists, he can get defensive stats. The minutes for him during the playoffs should be a lot higher than they were during the regular season. The price tag is still not that high on Draymond, so I definitely think Draymond's in play. He might be my favorite play from Golden State if I had to go to anyone on this team. Wiggins, he's fine, but like I never get excited about Wiggins, and especially now that Steph's back, I think Wiggins' usage is going to take a little bit of a hit. Don't love him at 6,200. And then the bench guys, I mean, just not any interest for me. Otto Porter, Kuminga, Bjelica. I mean, Kuminga barely played last game. He just got blowout run. He just played in the garbage time. Porter was solid off the bench. He did play 25 minutes, 14 DK points. Like, he's still kind of cheap. I think his minutes will be pretty decent during the playoffs. I think he'll play like low 20s minutes a night. But again, like, you have these Raptors guys, Chris Boucher, Press Achiuwa. Like, those are guys that I think are just better value plays. I don't really want to be going to any of these bench guys from Golden State. So that's all that I've got for this 3-game Monday night slate. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed, make sure you hit that like button down below. Hit that subscribe button as well. Also, check out the sponsor of the video, Prize Picks. Go sign up for Prize Picks. Use code NOAH. When you do, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100 when you do sign up with my promo code. And like I said at the beginning, there's not any props yet up for Monday's game. I'm recording this video on Sunday afternoon, and some of these games Sunday have still not even started yet. So nothing's up yet for Monday, but I'm sure later Sunday night, early Monday morning, you'll see some props added to the board. You can take a look at their board, see what they have to offer, make some picks for yourself. Just make sure if you sign up for Prize Picks to use code NOAH, and they will match your first deposit up to $100. But that's all that I've got for today, guys. Appreciate you watching the video. Hope you did enjoy, and we will see you in the next one.